Hello. I love that song. By the way, it is called I Love the Lord, Reverend R. And I don't know who it is. I gotta look it up. I downloaded it. I downloaded this Sounds of the South because it's not around anymore. It's like a 4-disc set. It is awesome. Man, I'm itchy today. I haven't done some super head scratches on this in a while, so let me go ahead and do that. Do you get really itchy heads first thing in the morning? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller. Bueller. That was a terrible impression of old Stein, wasn't it? Whatever. So again, bopping back to the New Testament, and still kind of sitting with this whole vow thing. It's a theme for the week. And in this, let's just get into it, shall we? The words of Christ, Matthew 5:33. Again you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of a great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes, and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. Now, he's not necessarily prohibiting, I know it sounds like it, prohibiting oaths altogether. Like never say, oh, you know, by the love of God I shall do this. And swearing to God, still totally allowed. He submits to oath in chapter 26, and Paul invokes God, as God is my witness, which is quite similar. But this is addressing an of-the-time thing, which required specific oaths to make words binding. Or you can think of, in court, you put your hand on the Bible, or I guess or the Quran, or whatever else they may have you stick your hand on, to therefore bind the fact that everything you say is true. It kind of reminds me of, in a way, it's like the version of it's like the speechified version of insurance for mailing things. Like when you mail something by UPS or FedEx, and they're like, "Would you like the insurance?" And you're like, "Huh? What's the insurance for?" "Oh, well, if we don't deliver it, or it gets lost, if we don't do the thing that you've hired us to do, then therefore you're covered." And then you're like, "Oh yeah, I should do that." But then part of you is like, "Wait, you're charging me extra to further guarantee the fact that you're going to do the very job I've hired you to do?" This is like the same version of that, only like promise style. Wait, you have to say something? Christ over and over again speaks to, let your words be your words, let your thoughts be your words. Let your words be your actions. Let your thoughts be your actions. Having a distinct, solid line of connect throughout all aspects of our being. So here he's not necessarily saying, oh man, never say those words that sound like oaths. But he's saying, discard that sentiment that would regard, oh, well, I don't have to do this because I didn't say I promised. Listen, I'm guilty of the same thing. And the way I tend to do it, as I have tried more and more and more to be to let him make me an honest man in all realms. Not that I was like a major cotton-picking liar or anything, but at some points in my life I felt like I was over-obligating myself by never really feeling like I had to always say yes to everything. And I was like, you know what, times of rest are legitimate, and times of winnowing down in my ADHD fury the things you meant to do. So I would do this thing where I would just say maybe. I'll say maybe a lot, and I'm like, well, if I said maybe, then you know what, it's right up in the air. But I have to admit that sometimes when I say maybe, it is certainly meant maybe, meaning, yeah, probably no. Probably no, unless you bother me enough about it, in which case that maybe might become a real maybe, or a maybe yes. So to me, it was just my way of like, hey, if I felt it. But honestly, when I was using maybe, 10% of the time, maybe meant yes. So it wasn't even a genuine maybe, for gosh sakes. So this, it's funny, I didn't even think of that until I started talking about this, but like, this very much is an indictment of that aspect of myself. I have trouble looking people in the eye when I'm talking to them. I practice on here. When people are talking, no problem. I can do that listening wise, but I get very caught up in my head when I'm speaking. Actually, if you go back watch a lot of these ChristianSands, it's a lot less of this, and it's a lot more of, there's a lot. There's and I think close to that is also my, like, I don't want to somehow maybe when I don't want to ever say no to people because I don't want to see the disappointment in their eyes. But again, it all comes back to love, doesn't it? It all comes back to love and how to treat people with love, which again means honesty that they may not like. So okay, even if you're a loving person, you will not always be called a loving person. And listen, if you say no to people, hey, I could really use your help in this thing, you're like, man, if I do that, I'm going to be beat up for this other thing I already got to do. Or you know what, this is really meant to be a time of rest, and I'm really supposed to be spending it with family or fellowship, or I got church right then, or whatever the reason. You need to say no. It's fine to say no. Let your no be a loving no. And yes, you're going to see disappointment in that person's eyes, but let it be a loving no. Because honestly, again, this comes back to love, like I said. What would you prefer? Would you like the person who's like maybe, so then you put them as a question mark on your list of people who are totally going to help you move or whatever? Or would you prefer someone who says no, you cross them off the dang list and you know your numbers, right? It's like those evites that you get that then like sit in your inbox forever. I don't know why they put the possibly thing in there. But, you'll click on there sometimes, and then you'll have people, like, send reminders. Hey, can you please just say yes or no so we know what the numbers are? And you're like, oh, yeah, but I don't know for sure whether I can go, so I don't want to just say no, and then, like, I can't go because I've said no already. Or I don't want to say maybe because that's ridiculous, but I can't say yes yet. You know what? Let your word be your word. Christ is saying, let your yes be a yes, let your no be a no. Speak honestly, speak no lies. Don't try to like build up all these defenses for yourself before things have even occurred. Say yes in love, say no in love. Let your word be your word, let your thought be your word. Let your thought be your action, let your word be your action. Anyway, that's what I'm carrying through from today. More words, more promises. Amen. Selah.